Understanding how a program works through order of operations will be very helpful when you create your own programs. The slightest differences could have very incorrect outcomes. For example, let's write a program that will allow a user to input 3 grades and then output the average of the grades. Step 1. This is in English, however, we are writing it using hashtags to prepare to make these statements comments in the Python program. So first we're going to ask a user for the first grade, store it in a variable, then ask a user for the second grade, store that in a variable, ask the user for the third grade, store it in a variable, then we're going to add the 3 grades together and then divide by 3 to find the average, and then output the result of this calculation. Here it is in AP Pseudocode. So display what is your first grade, then we're going to save that input into G1 variable. We'll do the same thing for the second and third grades. Then the average is going to be those 3 grades added together and divided by 3. Then we will display the average. Finally, we're going to write it in Python and test it out in our IDE. So here we have equal signs instead of arrows, and then print instead of display. I'm just going to copy all of this code and paste it into the IDE and run it. Oh, there's an error. Oh, for indents. Hold on, let me just get rid of all these indents. Sometimes when you copy and paste things, indents can be an issue. Alright, run. What is your first grade? Let's say 70, 80, and 90. Oh, and there's an error. Unsupported operand type, string and int. Let's go see what the issue is. Did you get an error? What happened? The error occurs on this line. Remember, G1, G2, and G3 were inputted by the user. So they are currently strings, not numbers. Therefore, the computer cannot perform any math with them. What do we need to do? Yes, we need to use the int function when storing the values into the variables. So let's go do that in our IDE. So we just need to wrap these input statements here with int with parentheses. When I say wrap, I mean put parentheses around it. So it's like you're wrapping this whole thing up inside of these parentheses. So run 70, 80, 90, and the average is an 80, which is accurate. Or you could also use the int function here inside of these parentheses when we're actually doing the math. Either way will work. You can either wrap them up here or wrap them down here. You don't actually have to wrap them in both places though. Could you convert the variables like this instead? Alright, so let's say when we collect the input from the user, we save it as strings, and then here we add them all together, then convert them to an int, and then take the average. Would that work? Again, no math operations can be performed correctly as long as the variables are strings. They must be converted to integers first before being added together. So if we did this, and this was a 70, this was an 80, and this would be a 90, then this would be 70, 80, 90, like that, divided by 3. Let's go try it out. So we undo all the int there, and we put int around this, say 70, 80, 90. Yes, so that's what that would be. 70, 80, 90, all one number, divided by 3. So it would be a number, but it would be incorrect. What would happen if we forgot the parentheses when finding the average? So we forget those parentheses there. What happens here? Computers do not always read left to right. No parentheses here would mean that G3 is divided by 3 first and then added to G1 and G2. Order of operations.